It is an honor to be here. I would just first like to thank Mrs. Deborah Moore Washington, Mr. Richardson, and the United Black Student Union of California for inviting me. I was so excited to come here this evening, just knowing that I would be amongst so many students who are true leaders. So I am thankful. Give yourself a round of applause. As she mentioned, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. I want you guys to kind of relax. We're going to talk about some great things that have to do with leadership. And I'll start by just telling you a little bit about myself. I, too, was just like you in becoming and striving to become a young professional. I started my career when I was 16, working for HBO, and I ran 3 of Russell Simmons' television production companies in LA. And I literally was 16 years old, and I took an internship that was said to be for the summer after 11th grade. And I worked that internship, and when it was over during the summer, the producer said to me, well, what are you going to do? And I had enough credits not to go back, but I said, I think I'm going to go to the 12th grade and really, have that whole experience. And they said, well, if you come back after school every day, we will pay you for a full day of work. And so the point is that right now, you guys are at such an amazing point in your lives where you're able to start building on true leadership. And most of you all, as young professionals, have already started to take leadership classes, take speech classes. When I was in high school, I was a part of the national speech team, and I had no idea what I would use that for. But what is really important that you all understand that as a young professional, you have to start building who you are right now. Take the classes, take the opportunity to take the classes that are available to you that are going to add on to who you are as a young leader in your field. Being a young professional means focusing on the big picture. It means understanding that your high school experience is a tool. It is not the end-all, be-all, but it is a tool. You take the best classes that you can so that you can then go to college, which is another tool. You'll figure out what you can do there to become a young leader, become someone who is, looked at by other students as a young leader. Take the classes that you can while you're at college, because college is still not the end-all, be-all. It is a tool that you're going to then use for your career. So it's really, really important that you guys have the proper perspective as you're moving forward. Now let's talk about what it takes to be a leader. The first thing that it takes is understanding what self-assessment and balance is. Many of you are, we're all told by our parents, all told by our teachers, you need to pick a career. And when you pick a career, this is what you need to do. But you have to choose a career goal that really makes you happy. You have to figure out how you're going to balance your life and not just looking at, okay, I want to be a doctor, but what about my personal life? Do I want to travel? Do I want to have a family? What timeline? How is that going to affect the balance of my life? It's not just about what you're going to do in your professional development, but also what you're going to do in your personal life. Because you don't want to get to a point where you're 30 and you say, I never thought about that. I'd like to have a family, but I never put that in my plan. And it's not that you're acting on it, but you're able to take the time to assess what it is that you actually want to do so that you can be, a well-rounded person and balanced. You have to take the time for self-assessment because self-assessment helps you to hear your own thoughts. As students, you're often told what you should want to do. But when you're able to hear your own thoughts and think about how you feel and form your opinion, take the time. I tell my students at USC, I teach at USC professional development as well, and I tell them all the time, it's not about what we want you to do, it's about you being the best at what you want to do. Understand who you are and what you actually are interested in. The next thing is preparation. You have to understand that researching and understanding the executive track of your field is key. If you all want to be a doctor, you have to figure out what it's going to take for you to be a doctor. Look at the end goal. If you want to go into the field of law, you may not necessarily want to become a judge, but you need to know that that's a possibility. You need to understand the executive track of your field, what it's going to take for you to become where, what the end goal, what the top is, what you can actually do, and then figure out what makes you happy on that particular ladder. The third thing is understanding the brand of you. How many of you all understand what a brand is? Okay. So the actual definition of a branding is the marketing practice. I'm going to give you verbatim. The branding is the marketing practice of creating a name for something specific for a product that sets it apart from other products. And you all have got to start looking at yourself as a brand. What is the brand of you? What do you have to offer? As students going into colleges are spending millions of dollars in scholarships every year. And you have to ask yourself, why are they buying into my brand? What do I have? What does my academic resume say about me? Why should they want to buy into my brand? And that's really, really important because oftentimes students don't understand and you don't see that you all are much further than you think you are. Oftentimes when I'm meeting with students and I'm looking at their academic resume, there's a lot of stuff that you all are doing that's not on your academic resume. A lot of the clubs that you're affiliated with, not on your academic resume. As you start to look at yourself and understand what your personal brand is, you will stand taller once you're meeting with counselors because you'll understand who you are. Which leads us to being able to network and maximizing your networking. How many of you all understand what networking is? Okay, how many of you all have had a chance to really network with each other since you've been here? Okay, now let me ask, keep going with the hands, let me ask this. Networking with each other. How many of you all are networking with other students who are going into the same field with a specific purpose in your mind as you're meeting with them today and during this conference? Okay. So we network, we talk to a lot of people. But when you understand what the brand of you is, when you understand, I have students that say, well, I'm an athlete. And I'll say, okay, well, what else do you want to do? What is your brand? And they're saying, well, I'm an athlete. I'm going into the league, and this is what I do, but what else? So you have to figure out, what else can I do with what I want to do? So then I say to them, have you ever thought about being a sports commentator? Because you're an athlete. They say, well, I'm really interested. I like clothes, and okay, so you can have an athletic clothing line. Okay. If you want to be a sports commentator, you can also be a producer and produce your own shows. You have to figure out everything that you want to do. You can't just look at your life as, this is the one thing that I want to do. You have to figure out, how am I going to maximize my opportunities? What do I want to do? Because meeting people means nothing if you don't understand how you can use their support. So if you understand who you are, everybody that I meet, I promise you, people ask me all the time, I'm a writer, I'm an author of books, I produce television, I have a children's series, all of this. So people ask me to say, well, what's your market? Who are you marketing to? And I ask people all the time, what do you do? If you tell me what you do, I can tell you how it fits into my brand. But that's because I know my brand. So when you all understand who you are, then you're able to really use the network, really use the connections that you have, because you all are not, especially who you are, where you are today, your issue is not going to be meeting the right people, but you waste your networking resources if you don't know how that person can help you. If you're not able to really tap into them as a resource, because most people want to help you, but they need you to understand how they can help you, because they don't have time to figure out who you are. They just want to know, is there anything I can do to help you? And you have to be so on it because you understand who you are. And then you can say, yes, absolutely. Well, I met this person. You take the athlete, for instance. I met this person and they are in television. Okay, great. We can talk about this show I want to do. Or I met this person and they have a designing company. Okay, we can talk about the clothing line. So when you understand who you are, then you understand how to maximize your network. Now, all of you might be going into different fields. You might have somebody who's going into marketing and somebody who's going into finance, but guess what? As you all are forming, there are so many different college students who are forming real businesses now that are making real money. So right now, it's important that you all figure out who's doing what next to you, because I may be doing marketing and Matt may be going into marketing and she may be going into finance. Well, we can talk, because I'm going to need a finance person in my company when I start my company. And she's going to need somebody to help market her company. So your network is so rich in this room right now. You should know what the next person sitting next to you is doing. The next thing is, with networking, is understand that personal communication is priceless. Now, I know we live in the email time of, you're emailing people, you're tweeting people, you're Facebooking people, but in business, communication is priceless. Understanding how to properly communicate when you're at your parents' formal dinners, or you're at your friend's parents' house and somebody asks you, what do you want to do? Being able to communicate with them in person is really important, because most people want to know somebody who's doing something good. So if you're doing something good, I want to be a cheerleader for you, because I may not necessarily be able to help you, but I know somebody who can help you, and I want to help you. So if you can come to me and tell me, this is what I want to do, and you are ready, then I can help you. But you've got to be ready. You guys have got to make sure that your academic resumes are on point. You have got to make sure that you follow up. When you meet somebody, it may be your parent's friend, but you say, can I send you over my resume? And your resume basically just consists of what you're doing in school, what groups you're in, what organizations you are already a part of. The next thing is education. It is so important that you are educated in whatever you want to do. I'm sure all of you all are going on to undergrad and graduate school, but whatever you do, make sure that you are educated in it, because oftentimes you have students that say, well, I'm going to go into fashion and I'll create these shoes or I'll create this shirt, but what do you know about the business? What about the percentage? When it gets picked up at Macy's or when it gets picked up at Bloomingdale's, what percentage do you really understand? The business is the question. So you have to make sure that you're educated. How many of you all outside of this organization look for workshops to participate in that have to do with your field? That's great. And it's great that you look for workshops that have to do with your field, because you're going to start networking with people who are doing what it is that you want to do. Also, not just workshops, but internships. As you all start as I understand, a lot of you are seniors and you have some juniors and some sophomores. It isn't, you don't have to wait until you get to college to intern. I'm a key example. If you can get an internship, that is experience. Real life work experience on your resume now is key, because interns have become so popular. Interns have become so popular because people cannot afford to hire employees. And they will take an intern who will work for free instead of an employee. So you want to make sure that you are really, really maximizing your opportunities, that you're looking for internships that have to do with your field, so that you can work and get that experience and get those connections, so that people get to know who you are. They will cheerlead for you. They will help you to become who you want to be. One thing that is really, really important with networking is organization, joining organizations like this organization, but also professional development organizations and professional organizations that have to do with what you're going to do, like the National Society of Black Engineers. Are there any prospective engineers in the room? Okay. Are any of you all members of the National Society of Black Engineers? Okay. Thank you. The National Society of Black Engineers is $5 a year to participate. It looks absolutely incredible on your resume. There are 30,000 members across the country that come together every year. 30,000 engineers that meet once a year. That resource is just absolutely priceless. But there are many organizations. If you all want to become a veterinarian, you call and you find junior chapters that will help to cultivate what it is that you are planning on doing. It's really, really important that you all take the opportunities to become members of these junior organizations, these junior professional organizations, and research, really, really research. One thing I really want you to go home with and understand is the term that I use often, opportunity versus obligation. The things that you get to do versus the things that you have to do. Oftentimes I have students who want to intern and they say, well, I have to intern because this is something I have to do to pay my dues. No, you get to intern because when you are join an organization, you pay dues so that they can help you. So when you hear students say, I don't want to work for free, you're not working for free. You're paying the due to come and learn what you would never have the opportunity to learn with no experience. So it's opportunity versus obligation. It's I get to go to school, not I have to go to school. It's I get to do this, not I have to do this. And that's just something that as you develop as a young professional, you have to really keep that in mind, because people will make you feel like, oh, well, I'm doing this just so I can get to where I need to be. It's for you. Everything that you guys do to climb your way to the top is for you. It's not for your parents. It's not for your grandparents. It's for your success. So it's important that you really take advantage of organizations like this that are really trying to help you to become the best that you can be. The next thing is, in order to be a great leader, you have to have great management skills. But you can't manage people if you don't understand what they do. You can't be the boss if you don't understand what the other people do. So oftentimes, because otherwise you hear people say stuff like, she doesn't even know what I do. How can she tell me what it is, if I'm not doing it right? She doesn't even understand my job. You guys have to start developing really great management skills, which I'm sure you are in your leadership classes and other programs that you're becoming involved in. Leadership and management go hand in hand. When you're working for a corporation or working almost at any company, the difference between a manager and a regular employee is that the manager understands how to direct the employees to do what needs to be done. They can explain the job. So it's important that you guys take the time to climb, but as you're moving towards your success, really understand what the people around you are doing so that you can help them when it's time for you to manage them. And the last thing in being a true leader is understanding responsibility. You all have such a great responsibility before you when you're moving forward as a leader. On social networking, on Facebook, on Twitter, it's important that you understand that you're responsible for what you put out there. It's not like when I was in school, you might have done something and people will forget about it. But people don't forget about what's on Facebook when they can always find it. Employers can't forget about the things that you've done if there are pictures of you online doing them. And it's really, really important that oftentimes students feel like, oh, that's when I was in high school. It doesn't matter. Because when they look online, and whether or not your Facebook is set to private, it doesn't matter, because there are companies that pay to make sure that they can go into your Facebook that's set to private. And if I see you doing something that you shouldn't do, I won't even interview you. You won't get the call back. It just is what it is. And I was talking to one of the students here, and I have another student who's going into politics. And so you all have to understand that what you're doing right now is going to be tracked. So what you're doing right now is going to be tracked. People are going to look back as a politician or as an attorney or as a doctor. Everything about you is available online. But you know what's interesting about when people say so-and-so said this about me? Most of the negative things that people can say about you, they can say them because you told them. You have the information, you share it, so you have to be very responsible in the things that you allow to be out there, the things that you talk to your now friends about. And I say now friends because I know you guys think that everybody is your best friend right now. And it's good until it's not. So it's important that you all present yourself as these young leaders. You look at what it is that you're trying to do and figure out, how do I work? What's the end goal? Now let me work and figure out what my track is, and now let me move forward in that track. And along with responsibility, it is your responsibility to give back to the students who are coming up next behind you. It's just your responsibility. It's not because you're a part of an alumni association and the organizations that you're in. It's just your responsibility, because as you guys know, there are millions of students who are not getting what you're getting here today. Millions of students who are not able to come to conferences where people love on you and they want to make sure that you get, they have keynote speakers and they have people who have experience. Millions. So whatever it is that you all learn, you have to take back to your schools. You have to take back to your friends. You have to make sure you say, did you know that there are organizations that you can join? And you want to network with your friends at school and listen to the people who are not in your circle and find out what they're doing. I challenge you all today to go back to school and talk to 3 people who you don't know, who you know want to do what it is that you're planning on doing, and ask them what their methods are. Because there are organizations and programs that maybe you don't know about that they know about, and you have to start networking now. So I am so excited about the success that you all have already had. I close in saying that make sure that when you're given the opportunity to take a leadership class, take the leadership class, because you don't know what you're going to need it for. Take the speech class, because in order to be a manager, you have to be able to speak in front of other people. Take any classes that you can take that are extra, that you feel could help you, take them and use them to help build toward your ladder of success. Thank you.
On behalf of the UBSUC, we would like to present you Ms. BeNeca Ward with a certificate of appreciation.